What is up, everybody? Doomwake here. Welcome to another edition of the Modern Metagame, your weekly resource for the recap on the week that was. Today, we don't have a ton of events to go over. I know last week we had the Magic Online Championships and the Star City Games Invitational. We're only going to be going over a few events here. Unfortunately, there just wasn't a ton of information. I did a lot of research. I went, digging as deep as I could. There's only a few events that I could find. Let's take a look and see what events we're going to be going over today. So today I have for you the Saturday and Sunday challenges on Magic Online. Those are weekly events. They are typically pretty stacked. There's a lot of streamers that play in them. There's a lot of good players that participate in them. And they are kind of the outside of the Magic Online Championship Series, the pinnacle of events on Magic Online. They're just decently prized events, and some of the best Magic Online players sort of gather and play those weekly. And then there's a couple smaller local events that I found from the weekend that I wanted to share with you guys. There's only two events that I have, the local events, that provided top 8 deck lists. So we can kind of just take a look at those and see how the metagame is shaping out. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with the Saturday Challenge. As far as the Saturday Challenge is confirmed, the tournament was won by Mana Symbol, who is a Magic Online streamer. Very, very good player and streamer, and they are a very big proponent of this Indomitable Creativity deck. I know that they've been working on this a ton. I don't even know how much other decks that they've played on their stream. They've probably played some other stuff on their stream. But I know that this is the deck that they're primarily working on, and as you can see, hard work on an archetype pays off. There's a lot of stuff to like about this. This is the, I guess this is the Jeskai. No, this is red and 6. Yeah, this is 4-color. But I think the one thing that I will note about this deck list is 4 copies of Fire Ice. I think that card is really, really good, and definitely one of the more underplayed cards. When you have Ice on the play, especially when you can follow Ice into a powerful turn 3 play like Teferi or Ren and 6, it goes a long way. Second place, we see another performance by Belfi, who has been playing this kind of weird, I guess we'll call it weirdo living end, for quite some time. They have I think 3 or 4 top 8s along with a win, and as you can see here, a lot of different stuff than your traditional living end deck list. There's a lot of pitch elementals, and there's adventure creatures as well. So it's not the traditional just cycle, force of negation, grief as backup. It's got more of a robust plan B that can play like a normal game of Magic with Bone Crusher, Brazen Borrower, 4 copies of Endurance, which is really good because one of the best ways to fight living end is to put creatures in your own graveyard. So big fan of this deck list, and would recommend checking it out if you're a fan of the living end archetype. Third place, we have Grixis Capster. This is the more mid-rangey Grixis deck. No Death Shadows, 4 Snapcasters, 4 iterations. Not too much to note here. Just be aware that this is an option in the format, and if you enjoy playing these type of grindy Grixis mid-range value piles, this is definitely a good deck. Fourth place, we got traditional blue-white Kahira Control. Again, not a ton to note here, just wanted to show you guys the deck list. This person plays a lot of Blue-White Control. I still think Blue-White is one of the best decks in the format, and might be a little bit underplayed, but maybe we'll showcase you a different form of Control deck that might be surpassing Blue-White in a little bit. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, Aspiring Spike top-baited yet another challenge. Today, he played his Rakdos Rock Den of the Bugbear deck. Very good deck, definitely very powerful strategy, just a really nice grindy elements with Kroxa and Turok, along with, it looks like he's trimmed some copies of Dathi Voidwalker. That's definitely worth noting, but we have more in the sideboard, so we still have 4 in the 75. But there is a lot to love about this. If you're, again, another mid-range deck, if you maybe not feeling the Grixis stuff, definitely a very powerful strategy, and Aspiring Spike is one of the best modern players there is right now, so not surprised to see him in the top 8. And in 6th place, Twinless Twin playing Grixis Death Shadow with Dress Downs. I'm not exactly sure about the specifics of this versus Corey Bowmeister's deck list, but I would assume it's pretty similar. Yeah, there doesn't look like there's a ton of fancy stuff going on here. The 3rd Dress Down in the sideboard. But yeah, it looks like just a lot of the... This is the Death Shadow version of Grixis, so maybe if you're more into playing like those Delver strategy, play a cheap threat, tempo your opponent out kind of thing, this is definitely a good archetype for that, and definitely a very good deck list. For 7th place, I had to make the screen a little bit bigger, taking up most of the space here, but we have some traditional, again, Blue-White Kahira control. I'm not going to go over a ton of the specifics differences between the two lists, but just note here, another control deck list if you are into that sort of thing. And in 8th place, we see the one outlier here. We have a copy of Amulet Titan, and this is the version with no Karn. I know that Punt Then Wine has been crushing the trophy leaderboards. I believe as of the recording of this video, he is the current Modern Trophy leader. He's been playing Amulet with Karn, so you see no Karns here. We're kind of just focusing more on your traditional Dryad, Titan, Explorer, Pact, Amulet, just a lot of the usual suspects here. We have, this is Slayer Stronghold and not the other Hasteland, which I think I like. But yeah, it looks like 3 tireless trackers too, which I think is something that Punt has been really, really high on. So if you're a fan of Amulet, definitely a good deck list. I guess one small note here is Kabira Crossroads, and from what it appears to be, no Radiant Fountain, so that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, just wanted to highlight the Amulet deck list that we have here. And then with that, let's get into Sunday's challenge. Alright, so diving into the Sunday challenge, we have here in first place SWFF with Blue-Red Murktide. Not a ton to talk about here. There's 1 Archmage's Charm, 1 Force of Negation, 1 Spell Pierce, 1 Engineered Explosives. Those are kind of like the flex spots. I know people have been playing more Archmage's Charms, maybe more Serum Visions. There's also a Brazen Borrower. I think one thing to note about the Blue-Red Murktide deck is it's still here. People are still winning with it, and the flex spots, you kind of ideally want to position yourself a little bit better against Chalice if people are doing that kind of stuff, because Chalice is one of the blue-white control decks that are playing Chalice. But as people move towards maybe different types of control decks, which maybe we'll see in just a second, maybe you don't need as much hate against Chalice. But this is the winner of the challenge, Blue-Red Murktide. And in second place, this is our first taste of the 4-color control deck. Now, I didn't mention that Gabe Nassif actually I think he got 10th place in the Saturday challenge with, I believe, this exact deck list. But this is the new kid on the block. This is 4-color control. It's a Kahira deck that basically plays no creatures outside, well, Omnath and Solitude. So it does play Omnath and Solitude, but it's like kind of I guess the best way to describe it is like the 4-color canister deck, just kind of slimmed down to 60 cards. It's basically, I guess like the other way you could look at it is it's blue-white control, splashing red and Omnath, which is, I guess, iteration 2, but essentially just a control deck that has a lot of planeswalkers, as you can tell, 13 of them to be exact, and we're utilizing Omnath. We're much more of a tap-out deck. We still have Counterspell and Force, but not as much instant speed interaction as you typically see in the blue-white control decks. But this deck is here to stay. It's definitely the new kid on the block. I think if you want to play control, this might be a pretty significant upgrade to blue-white, and has a lot more tools. Playing, Iteration and Omnath and all that kind of stuff, Red and 6 as well, so it can play a much better long game than some of your traditional blue-white decks can. And then in third place, we have the master himself, Guillaume Wafotapa, Watu on Magic Online, playing his traditional blue-white control deck with Kahira. We've moved the Chalices to the sideboard, which is an interesting decision, especially with, the come-up again of Blue-Red Murktide. It's kind of been a little bit more popular as of late, so that's a bit of a surprising thing to see. No more Chalice's main deck, but a lot of the stuff that you've seen before, 4 Teferi, 4 Solitude, 4 Ending, 4 Charm, 4 Counterspell, again, 4 Spreading Seas main deck as well. A lot more instant speed interaction than the 4-color version that we just saw, but, again, just a true master at work. We got the 1 Emrakul on the sideboard, just in case you play against Mill, and maybe he brings it in the control mirrors. But yeah, just this is the sort of the old school, I guess we'll call it Boomer control versus the Zoomer control, which is the 4-color deck. And in fourth place, we have the 4-color Yorion deck. This is more of the traditional canister build. That is what I guess this is the 4-color Blink deck. It's, basically no counter spells. It's playing Ephemerates, all of the elementals, Ice Fangs, even a couple of copies of main deck Endurance. We've gone with Lightning Bolt and Lightning Helix as our interaction, and then Abundant Growth and Spreading Seas to pair with our Yorion. This is, I guess, one thing of note here, no Abundant Harvest and more lands, which is, you know, something worth noting. I think that, you know, I haven't played this deck a ton, but it makes sense to maybe have a little bit more consistency in your draws. And, like, you know, if you're missing your land drop and you need to cast Abundant Harvest, it could be awkward with your sequencing. So, yeah, this is the 4-color Blink deck in 4th place. And in 5th place, we have some Mill. Blue-black Mill, to be precise. 8 crabs, sanities, laughters, traps, drowns, pushes, surgicals, visions. Not a ton of stuff worth noting here. I guess I will say that there's 2 main deck copies of Crypt Incursion, which is something that you might want access to if people are going to be moving more towards main deck endurances, so that's worth noting. 1 Into the Story, 1 Murderous Cut as our flex spots. But yeah, just a lot of stuff that you normally see here. The Cyborg, maybe he's got some spicy stuff, a Baleful Mastery. What else we have here? A Manic Scribe, a Tormod's Crypt. We're choosing to split Lantern and Crypt. I would imagine that's because of Pithing Needle out of the Urza Saga deck, so I don't mind that. But yeah, this is Blue-Black Mill. A bit surprising to see it here, but it is, I would presume, decent-ish against the 4-color piles, assuming you can dodge Endurance. That's the one card that I'd be that's the one card I'd be worried about the most if I was playing this against 4-color. But it is very, very good against Lurrus decks. So, 5th place, Blue-Black Mill. And 6th place, we have another copy of the 4-color Kahira. This is the Nassif deck. 1 less Planeswalker, 1 copy of Fury in the main deck. I think that's the only change. 2 Verdict, 3 Counterspell, 4 Force. Everything else looks the same. Sideboard, mostly the same as well. But you'll notice a trend here. This deck is definitely picking up in popularity after Nassif's very good run in the Saturday Challenge. And you'll see in just a second, he might have had a good run in the Sunday Challenge as well. And in 7th place, the man himself, Bob the Dog. This is Nassif. This, I believe, is the same deck list he played Saturday. This is the 1 less Planeswalker, 1 additional main deck Fury. But yeah, this, ever since he, you know, I know on Twitter he posted a run. I think he was like 15-0 in leagues. And then, I don't know, I think he went undefeated in the Saturday Challenge until he lost like his win-in or something. I can't recall. Or maybe he was maybe that was this run or whatever. But some ridiculous number of, like, you know, a lot of wins and not a lot of losses or something like that. And people have been picking it up. So this might be the new go-to control deck, and that's something to keep in mind, you know? Less counter spells, less instant speed interaction, more playing to the board. So if you're looking to attack the control deck, you might want to keep that in mind when you're building your sideboard. Then, rounding out the top 8, we have a deck that I have not seen in a long time, Mono Red Prowess with Gigantha. So we are choosing to go with Gigantha instead of Obosh or Lurrus, which I'm sure you've seen some of the Prowess decks before. Lurrus does require you to add a second color, so, you know, if this person wanted to stay straight up mono red, I could definitely see that. And Lurrus makes it so you can't play Bone Crusher Giant, so maybe that's a decision as well. But a nice, clean deck list. Anytime you get a deck list that's all 4 ofs, just a beautiful, beautiful deck list. Abbot of Carol Keep is an interesting one. As I said, the main deck Bone Crushers, and then, you know, your traditional Mono Red Prowess stuff. 4 Relic of Progenitus is interesting in the main deck. I guess this is a hedge towards Lurrus decks and Living End and that kind of stuff, so I don't mind it, but it's just an interesting inclusion. Also a little bit awkward with Channeler, so you got to keep that in mind. And then Cyborg, again, basically all 4 ofs except the 1 Gigantha, Blood Moon, Pirate Spellbomb to kill Sanctifiers and all that stuff. So definitely an interesting deck. Maybe a new tool if you're into playing aggressive decks, one worth keeping in mind. And if you're into casting some Soulscar mages, you could probably do a little bit worse. Now that we've gone over the top 8s of both events, let's give you one deck list from the top 32, the remaining deck list from each event, that is maybe a little bit more interesting. The first deck that I want to highlight for y'all is 15th place from the Saturday Challenge, and that was Taimou. Taimou is notorious for playing these blue-red sort of combo-ish decks, but he likes to play much more of a controlling role with a very, very light combo finish involving 2 Deceiver Exarch and 2 Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breakers. That's the infinite combo, but just sort of like a Blue Moon deck, but instead of Blood Moon, we're playing with Blood Sun. Blood Sun allows us to play what is effectively infinite dual lands, because the dual lands aren't really affected by Blood Sun. We don't get to play fetch lands, but the nice thing about Blood Sun is it turns off fetch lands, it turns off Urza Saga, which Blood Moon does as well, but Blood Sun cantrips, so that's the difference there. There are definitely matchups where Blood Sun is worse than Blood Moon, but you know the fact that it cantrips, digs you closer to your combo spells. There's a couple cool things going on here though, like one Crackling Drake. I like the main deck Furies as sort of a way to get some stuff off the battlefield that is you could play it for free, right? And if you're trying to set up like a good double spell turn of clear your board plus hold up counter spell, or clear your board plus cantrip, or something along those lines to dig towards the combo, that can be pretty good. So just a lot to process about this deck. But if you want to play like if you're a Splinter Twin lover, which I'm sure there are plenty of you out there, you could do a little bit worse than this, and just something I wanted to highlight from the Saturday challenge. Right, and then from the Sunday challenge, for those of you who have watched the series the past couple of weeks, you might recall this deck list. I think this was from 2 weeks ago. Lee 4 coming in 24th place with Jeskai Humans. This is not your traditional 5-color humans deck. This is just Jeskai. We get to play a little bit some non-human creatures in the form of Ragavan, which is a very powerful card. And we also get to play with some more interaction with Lightning Bolt and Teferi Time Raveler as well. When I played this deck personally, I was not as much of a fan as I initially thought I was going to be of it. I think it might just be humans positioning in the metagame where Fury is such a prevalent card. It's really, really hard to be playing humans right now against, all these Furies running around. So that was my big issue with it. We've changed a couple things here. We have, a Malevolent Hermit, only one copy of Mantis Rider. We're focusing more on Imperial Recruiter, which I do like quite a bit. I think Imperial Recruiter is where you want to be focusing your attention towards if you're playing humans, because it's a way to sort of... it's card advantage, right? And the way to beat Fury is just having more cards, because Fury is frequently going to be a 2, 3, sometimes 4 for 1. So if you're up cards, maybe that can help against Fury. So just worth noting here, if you're into the humans kind of stuff, this might be something worth exploring. Alright, so we're not going to spend too much time on these local events. I just kind of wanted to showcase what the top 8 deck lists were to everybody. So in first place, this is the first event here is the one that I found from, I think it's at MTG Salcio on Twitter. They, I assume they host events or whatever. I don't know if they have a store. But anyways, this is the one of the local events here. So we have Temur Footfalls, Amulet Titan, Bant Soul Herder, Esper Reanimator, Mono White Hammer, other deck lists, which is actually Oops All Spells, Orzhov Hammer, and then rounding out the top 8 is the Rakdos Luris Aspiring Spike deck. I'm going to post a link to these below in the description if you want to go ahead and check out each of the individual deck lists. Again, we're not going to spend too much time because I don't know anything about the local area. Like, again, these are just local events, random events that I found through other websites. And again, I just wanted to kind of showcase what the paper metagame maybe is looking at in other areas, to give you an idea for maybe if there's something spicy that you want to try out here. Again, it is kind of interesting that we have the Oops All Spells and Bant Soul Herder here, but other than those two deck lists, pretty much everything that you would expect. Nothing too crazy there outside of those two deck lists. Again, if you want to check them out, I'll drop a link in the description below. Then the last event of the day is going to be the other local event that I found. Again, I'll drop a link below. We have Hammer Time, Counter Monkey, which is Blue-Red Murktide, Merfolk, Indomitable Creativity. That is actually the Grixis version with Archon of Cruelty. That's definitely a little bit interesting. We got classic good old Boomer Jund, Blue Eye Control, Humans, for you Humans fans out there, and then one more Counter Monkey, aka Blue-Red Murktide. So the two interesting I guess the three interesting standouts here are Merfolk, the Archon of Cruelty version of Creativity, not the mana symbol one, and then Humans. So again, I'll post a link in the description below if you want to take a look. Just, again, wanted to give you guys a little bit more than just the challenges, give you a feel for what the local metagame is in certain areas. I believe the first event was from, I don't know if it was Brazil or Spain, the MTG Salcio one, and then I believe this one was from Japan. I think this is an event that was run at Haruya. So yeah, I'll drop a link to the description below if you want to check out the deck list, but yeah, just wanted to showcase a little bit more of the paper metagame to y'all. All right, and in closing, just wanted to kind of give you a sort of a snapshot of where both top eights were. Saturday was maybe a little bit more expected in terms of the diversity in the top eight. You know, we've seen decks that we've seen before. Living End might be a little bit different than your traditional, blue Living End decks, but it is still Living End. Grixis, Blue-White Control, Rakdos, Shadow, Blue-White Control. So there's much more of a diversity. Creativity winning is definitely something, a big sign, something worth noting. Mana Symbol is very, very good with the creativity deck, and very, very skilled pilot of that. But just more of a diverse top eight. And then when we get into Sunday, maybe a little bit less diverse, with you see 4 copies of various 4-color decks, 3 of them being the Nacif control deck, if I recall correctly, I thought 2 of them were Blink. No, I guess 3 of them were. So 3 of them were the Nacif deck, and then 1 of them was the 4-color Blink deck, so lots and lots of 4-color. Blue-Red Murktide winning. Prowess in the top 8 is very interesting, might be something worth exploring if you want it to be like a Blood Moon deck, then that's probably your best option. And then Blue-Black Mill and Blue-White Control rounding out our top 8. So the one takeaway from this weekend, we have, 6? I guess if you count the 4-color Blink deck as control, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7-ish control decks littered across both top 8s. So control is definitely where you want to be. I think I would, if I was playing a control deck, I'd probably rather be on the 4-color side because you have access to more powerful threats and more card advantage like expressive iteration, that kind of stuff. But creativity and Blue-Red Murktide taking it down, that will wrap it up. So if you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you next time on the Modern Metagame.